Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at this idea of intentional smallness in business.
Okay.
And we're going to be taking a look at the book Small Giants by Burlingham.
All right.
And he kind of explores companies that choose to stay small. Not because they have to, but because they want to.
Yeah.
So we're going to uncover what makes these companies tick, why their leaders choose this path, and what lessons we can maybe learn from their approach.
It's a fascinating concept for sure.
Yeah.
It kind of challenges that, that bigger is better kind of narrative we always hear in business.
Right. Yeah.
You always hear about companies striving for massive growth, but small giants offer like a different perspective.
Yeah.
These are companies that prioritize purpose over just like relentless expansion.
So instead of just looking at the numbers, the revenue, the market share,
Right.
they're more focused on maybe building a community.
Yeah, like a sense of community.
Yeah.
And a shared purpose.
Yeah. Okay.
And what's interesting?
What's that?
Burlingham explores a really diverse range of companies in the book,
Okay.
but he primarily defines a small giant based on their employee count.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he argues that maintaining a smaller workforce allows for, like closer connections between
That
employees,
makes sense.
fosters a more intimate company culture,
Yeah.
and even lets CEOs maintain personal relationships with new hires.
So that personal touch, like you were saying, can really create a sense of belonging.
Definitely.
Yeah.
It makes people feel invested in the company's mission.
And it sounds like it can apply to all sorts of industries, too.
Oh, yeah.
Because in the book, he looks at Anchor Brewing, which is like the original American microbrewery,
Right.
but then also ECCO, which makes backup alarms, and then Hammerhead Productions, which is like a special effects company in Hollywood.
Yeah, very diverse.
Yeah, that is interesting. And what I also thought was interesting is that a lot of these leaders of these small giants has very different backgrounds.
Yeah, their paths are all over the place.
Okay.
Some of them, like Jay Goltz, he's a natural entrepreneur. He shifted from like really rapid growth to more of a fulfilling and community-focused approach.
Okay.
And then you have others, like Ani DeFranco. She's a singer-songwriter.
Yeah.
And she actually intentionally like sidestepped major record deals to build her own label.
Wow.
So she prioritized artistic freedom over just like massive commercial success.
Interesting. So there's this common thread of like rejecting just growth for the sake of growth.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So what is it then that drives these entrepreneurs to defy that conventional wisdom of grow or die?
Well, a lot of times it's like a journey.
Okay.
Take Norm Brodsky, for example.
Yeah.
He built this really successful messenger company called Storage,
Mm-hmm.
and he almost lost it all chasing that, that magic $100 million revenue target.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And going through bankruptcy, it kind of forced him to rethink his priorities. He shifted his focus from being the biggest player in the game to building a company with a really good reputation.
Yeah.
And that led to him actually selling Storage for a pretty hefty sum.
Oh, wow. So he got his big payout, just not in the way he thought he would.
Exactly. But it raises an interesting point.
What's that?
If these companies aren't chasing like aggressive growth,
Yeah.
what are they striving for? What makes them different?
What makes them tick?
What makes them successful on their own terms?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question.
Well, that's where this idea of mojo comes in.
Okay, mojo.
Yeah. Burlingham uses this term mojo. It's that hard to define quality that makes a company stand out.
So it's like you know it when you see it.
Yeah, it's that feeling you get when you walk into a store or you interact with a company and you're like, wow, this is different.
It's got that special something.
Yeah, like a special energy,
Yeah.
a soulfulness,
And instead of blending in, they have this magnetic pull.
Right,
It draws people in.
exactly. And Burlingham argues that small giants cultivate their mojo by fostering a deep sense of intimacy.
Intimacy.
Yeah, but not in a romantic sense, of course.
Okay, good.
More like in the way they connect with their people, their community, and their customers.
So intimacy in this case is more about how they build relationships.
Exactly. He considers this intimacy to be the secret ingredient that sets these companies apart.
No. Okay, so that's what fuels their success.
Exactly.
Okay, now we're talking. So tell me more about this intimacy factor. How does it actually play out?
Well, it's really evident in three key areas.
Okay.
Intimacy with the community, with customers, and with employees.
So they're covering all their bases.
Exactly.
Okay.
Let's start with community intimacy. Small giants don't just exist in a location. They actually contribute to their communities.
So it's about more than just setting up shop somewhere.
Right. They shape and are shaped by their surroundings.
I like that. So
Yeah.
they're really part of the local ecosystem.
Yeah, they become integral to the community.
And it's a two-way street.
Exactly.
It benefits everyone involved.
It does. For example, Righteous Babe Records, Ani DeFranco's label, is a great example.
Okay.
It's not just based in Buffalo. It's deeply connected to the city itself. It reflects the city's spirit.
Oh, wow.
It's played a role in the city's revitalization.
That's amazing.
Their renovation of the Asbury, Delaware Methodist Church is a prime example.
Okay.
This project not only restored this historic landmark, but also brought a renewed sense of hope to the community.
Wow, that's incredible. That's a powerful example of business as a force for good.
It is. And
Yeah.
you see this in other small giants too, like Zingerman's Deli in Ann Arbor.
Okay.
They've really captured that city's vibrant intellectual character.
Interesting.
They even weave local history into their business.
Oh, how do they do that?
They connect customers with the stories behind their locally sourced ingredients.
Oh, that's really cool. So it's like they've created this like blend of community and culture and cuisine.
Exactly. Now,
Right.
when it comes to customer intimacy, these small giants go way beyond just basic customer service.
Okay, so what are they doing?
They build genuine, lasting relationships.
So it's less about the transaction and more about the connection.
Right. It's about personal interactions over automated responses. It's about valuing authentic engagement instead of just impersonal marketing blasts.
So instead of just acquiring customers, it's more about nurturing relationships.
Exactly. And the book highlights a lot of small giants who are excelling at this.
Okay, like who?
Well, Danny Meyer's Union Square Hospitality Group is a great example.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, he built a whole company culture around what he calls enlightened hospitality.
Okay.
And it's about anticipating the needs of the customer, creating a genuine sense of welcome, providing these personalized experiences.
It's about making people feel seen and cared for, not just served.
Exactly. And then you have companies like Cliff Bar, who focus on really understanding their customers' needs, maintaining an authentic brand identity. It's about building trust and loyalty.
That seems to be a recurring theme with these small giants, this authenticity. They're not trying to be everything to everyone.
They stay true to who they are.
They let their personality shine through.
Yes. And another great example is Norm Brodsky's Cita Storage.
Oh, yeah, him again.
He really went above and beyond to build those personal connections.
Like, how so?
From sending handwritten welcome letters to hosting events that build a sense of community.
Oh, that's really nice. So it makes customers feel like they're part of something special.
Exactly. Not just a number.
That makes sense. That kind of connection is refreshing.
Absolutely. So we've talked about community, we've talked about customers.
Yeah.
What about employee intimacy?
Yeah. How do small giants cultivate those feelings of connection and purpose within their teams?
This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah, I am ready.
They invest heavily in their employees. They foster a culture of trust, appreciation, and shared purpose.
Okay.
EasyCo, for example, completely restructured their business to focus on customer intimacy.
Wow.
Yeah, but the key to that transformation was empowering their employees.
Interesting.
So empowering them to understand and meet customer needs.
Okay. So instead of dictating how things should be done, they trust their employees to figure it out.
Right.
And they're the face of the company.
Yeah, they realized that their employees were their greatest asset.
That makes sense.
And they created an environment where employees could thrive.
So it's not just talk, it's backed up by real action.
Exactly. And it manifests in a lot of different ways.
What are some of the more unexpected ways they invest in their employees? And are there any downsides to this really intense focus on employee well-being?
Well, for starters, they go beyond those traditional perks and benefits.
Right.
Companies like O.C. Tanner, they're famous for those employee recognition programs.
Right.
They also offer these really robust training programs and leadership development initiatives.
Interesting.
They understand that investing in their employees, helping them grow, it not only benefits the individual,
Right.
it strengthens the company as a whole.
Yeah, it's like they're saying, we want you to grow with us.
Yeah,
And we're going to give you the tools to do it.
exactly.
But it's not just about the formal programs, is it?
No, you're right.
There's got to be more.
Sometimes those most powerful gestures are like these unexpected acts of care,
Like what?
showing that they understand.
Give me an example.
The book talks about Jim Thompson, ECO's CEO. He gave an employee a raise so they could quit their second job.
Wow.
It's that level of personalized support.
Yeah.
and empathy that really sets these companies apart.
That's a great example of how they see their employees as people.
Right.
Not just cogs in a machine.
Exactly.
But all this focus on employees, it's got to be balanced with running a business.
Right,
You
absolutely.
can't just ignore the bottom line.
And this is where another interesting aspect of small giants comes in.
Okay.
Their approach to company structure and management philosophy.
Oh, okay. So they're not just winging it.
No, they've found these creative ways to empower their employees, but still maintain a really successful operation.
So they're adapting the rules to fit their values.
Exactly. Take Zing Train, for example.
Okay, Zoom train.
It's the training arm of Zingerman's.
Okay.
They've taken these really complex management concepts and broken them down into these like simple tools and principles.
So anyone can understand them.
Yeah, and use them. It's less about theory and more about practicality.
Oh, I like that. Give employees resources they can actually use.
Yeah, exactly.
But Zing train's not the only example.
No, not at all. Real precision manufacturing has this very interesting approach to governance.
Okay, how so?
They call it the TT principle.
Oh,
It stands for technology, entrepreneurship, and trust.
okay.
And it guides every decision they make.
Wow.
Fosters this culture of shared ownership and responsibility.
It sounds like trust is a big part of their company culture.
It really is. And to reinforce that, they have what they call the direction statement.
Oh, okay. What is that?
It outlines their core values, guiding principles.
Okay.
But here's the interesting part.
Yeah.
It's not a static document.
So they're not just framed on the wall and forgotten
Right. They review it and update it.
to make sure they stay true to their mission.
Exactly.
That's a really good idea. So those values stay relevant.
Exactly.
But let's be real. Staying small and prioritizing employees doesn't mean you can ignore the finances.
Right.
How do these small giants approach financial viability?
That's a great question.
Can they be people-centric and profitable?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And the book emphasizes that staying small doesn't mean you're naive about finances.
Okay, good.
It highlights two key metrics:
Okay, what are they?
gross margins and the balance sheet.
All right, break those down for me. What are gross margins and why are they so important?
Well, gross margins are the profit a company makes after deducting the costs of producing its goods or services. So high gross margins are essential for small giants because it gives them the financial cushion they need to do all this other stuff,
Like what kind of stuff?
like funding innovation, employee benefits, community initiatives, without, risking the company's stability.
Yeah.
A good example of this is Real Precision Manufacturing.
Okay.
They faced a real challenge when their dedication to their employees, their aversion to layoffs, it actually started impacting their profitability.
Interesting.
They had to make some tough choices to balance, their commitment to their employees with the need to stay profitable.
That must have been tough.
Yeah.
Having to compromise on your values.
And what about the balance sheet? Why is that so important?
Yeah.
Well, the balance sheet basically gives you a snapshot of the company's finances,
Okay.
assets, liabilities, and equity.
Right.
Keeping a close eye on the balance sheet, especially managing debt, is crucial for any business.
Yeah, especially in a tough economy.
Right.
You don't want to be over leveraged.
Exactly. And Nick's Pizza and Pub is a good example here.
Oh, yeah. What happened to them?
They took on a lot of debt to expand.
Okay.
And then when the recession hit,
Oh, no.
they found themselves in a really tough spot.
So even with a great culture and loyal employees, you can still be vulnerable if you don't manage your finances,
Right. It's a reminder that financial health is essential for everyone.
regardless of size.
Exactly.
So this brings us to another really critical aspect of small giants:
Okay.
succession planning.
Yeah. How do these companies that are often so closely tied to their founders,
Right.
how do they ensure their longevity?
Yeah. And how do they preserve that unique culture?
It's a challenge, for sure. And the book explores different approaches.
Okay. Like what?
Well, some companies, like ECCO, have transitioned to employee ownership through an ESOP.
Oh, an ESOP. I've heard of those. Can you explain how those work?
Sure. An ESOP, basically, the company sets up a trust fund that gradually purchases shares of the company's stock. And then those shares are allocated to employees based on, salary, tenure, things like that.
So as the company profits, the employees benefit directly.
Right. They have a stake in the company's success.
That's a really interesting model.
It is.
So the founder can kind of step back, but the company continues on.
Yeah.
And the employees gain ownership.
It's a win-win.
It is. But ESOPs aren't always the answer, are they?
No, they're not for everyone. Some founders, like Fritz Maytag from Anchor Brewing, chose to find external buyers.
Oh, okay.
But he was very careful. He wanted to find buyers who aligned with his values,
Yeah.
who would carry on the company's legacy.
So it's about finding the right fit, whether it's internal or external.
Exactly.
Someone who shares the company's vision.
Exactly. But regardless of the approach, Burlingham really stresses the importance of planning.
So don't wait till the last minute to figure this out.
Right. Be proactive. Think about succession planning early on.
Okay.
Decide on the company's future leadership.
And take care of all the financial and legal stuff, too.
Right. Estate planning.
Right.
All of that.
Yeah, set the company up for success, even when the founder's gone.
Right.
It's about long-term sustainability.
Exactly. And it's not just about survival. It's about preserving that special culture.
Right.
Those relationships.
Yeah, that's something that sets small giants apart.
It does.
Yeah.
And, it's not just about the inner workings of the company.
What else is there?
Small giants have a unique perspective on the role of business in society.
What do you mean?
They understand that business can be a force for good.
Okay.
They actively try to make a positive impact.
So it's not just about making money?
No, it's about values. It's about social responsibility.
Okay.
But it goes beyond just writing a check to a charity.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's not just a PR stunt.
It's about weaving those values into everything they do.
Okay.
Paul Saginaw, he's the co-founder of Zingerman's.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't just donate to food banks. He actually co-founded a nonprofit organization.
Oh, wow. What is it?
It's called Food Gatherers.
Okay.
And they collect and distribute food that would have otherwise gone to waste.
That's awesome. Using their success to make a real difference.
Yeah. And it's inspiring, right, to see these small giants not just excel in business,
Mm-hmm.
but also try to make the world a better place.
Right. But have any of these companies, encountered challenges along the way?
Oh, of course.
Has their commitment to their values ever backfired?
Yeah. Staying true to your values can definitely be tricky.
Yeah, double-edged sword.
On the one hand, it attracts those loyal customers and employees.
Right.
But it can also lead to, some challenges.
Right.
Like even the most purpose-driven companies can hit some bumps in the road.
Okay.
Real precision manufacturing, with their strong commitment to job security and those really generous benefits,
Mm-hmm.
they faced a real test back in the early 2000s.
Oh, what happened?
Increased competition
Yep.
and a changing market, it put a lot of pressure on their profitability. And they had to, make some really tough decisions.
It's a reminder that no company is immune to economic realities.
Right.
Even a small giant with a good reputation and solid values,
Exactly.
they can still be vulnerable.
And in Real's case, they actually had to make their first ever layoff,
Oh, wow.
which, went against everything they stood for.
Yeah,
It caused a lot of soul searching within the company.
I bet. That must have been a really hard decision to make.
Yeah. And it shows that sometimes you have to balance your values with the survival of the company.
Right.
And Real's not the only example. Nick's Pizza and Pub, with their amazing culture and focus on employee empowerment,
Mm-hmm.
they almost went bankrupt during the recession.
What
They
happened?
took on a lot of debt to finance expansion.
Okay.
And when the economy crashed,
Yeah.
they were in a really bad spot.
So it's a cautionary tale. You have to be smart about the finances.
Right. Even if you're doing everything else right.
It's a good reminder for any business owner.
Uh-huh.
So you need to be true to your values. You got to take care of your people, but you also need to make sure the business is financially sound.
It's like this constant balancing act.
It is.
And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from Small Giants.
What's that?
It's not about having a perfect formula.
Okay.
It's about approaching business with intention,
Mm-hmm.
with integrity.
And staying true to your purpose.
Exactly. And it's interesting. This Small Giants philosophy, it's not just for private companies.
Worldly. You mean public companies can do it too?
Yeah, there aren't many, but there are some notable examples.
Like who?
Patagonia, for instance, the outdoor clothing company.
Oh, yeah. I love Patagonia.
Yeah, they're really committed to sustainability and social responsibility,
Yeah.
even if it means, making decisions that aren't always popular with investors.
They've built this amazing following, not just because of their products, but because of their values.
Exactly.
They really walk the walk.
And they've been super successful.
So it is possible to do both.
It is. You don't have to sacrifice your values to succeed.
That's really inspiring.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Small Giants,
Mm.
I'm curious, what are you taking away from this?
Well, I'm really inspired by the diversity of the companies in the book.
Yeah.
It's not just for one type of business.
Right.
It's a mindset.
It is. And The principles apply to everyone.
Absolutely. Whether you're an entrepreneur, an employee, or just someone who wants to live a more meaningful life.
Yeah. It's about finding your own mojo, making a difference.
Yeah, it's a great message, especially in a world that's obsessed with growth.
It is. Success isn't just about size or money.
Right.
It's about those connections, the impact you make.
Yeah,
It-
the legacy you leave behind.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. It's been a really thought-provoking look at a different kind of success,
It has.
one that values purpose and people.
Absolutely.
And to our listeners, think about what we discussed today.
Yeah, what resonated with you
What can you apply in your own life?
to make a difference?
That's a great point to end on. Thanks for listening, everyone, and we'll see you next time.